Yeah, sometimes when you're buying parts on eBay, you really don't know what you're getting. You don't know if it's good quality, and when you want to build a good piece of equipment, you really need to be able to test it. Well, how do you test it? Well, I decided to take these little relays. The topic is about this little relay. It's a 9-volt relay. And I've had some of them where 1 out of 10 relays was bad, and it really sucks when you go to the trouble building a circuit board up and you find out the relay's not working properly. So basically I built this little circuit board, and we're putting a load test on it. The relay is actually designed at 9 volts, and I can definitely test it at 9 volts, but really what I'm concerned with is how's it going to operate at 7 volts? Is it going to work properly, or is it going to fail? It's going to develop bad connections by not squeezing the contacts together tight enough. If you can see the LED switching back and forth, that's testing all 4 contacts, double pull, double throw. But it's basically testing all the contacts to see if they're working properly. Now the nice thing about this is by using the Arduino microcontroller, I can actually keep an eye on the voltage drop across those contacts, and if it basically drops too much, basically it'll buzz at me. Now how in the world did I do that? Well, basically the microcontroller can keep an eye on that voltage drop, and if one of the contacts, I'm going to lift the relay up out of the socket, it'll start buzzing at me, which is just basically a design of the program to be able to do that. You can see that one slide's flashing while the other slide's not, and that creates an error condition that the Arduino programming can detect. And speak of the devil. Basically, like I said, this relays are supposed to work at 9 volts. I'm trying to operate them at 7 volts to see a failure condition. Now if you notice, this thing's not switching. It's not switching properly at 7 volts. So if you're going to run off a battery, that means if that battery drops too low, the relay will no longer work, and that's just not an acceptable situation. Now what we'll do here is try to do this with one hand. And we'll get another relay. Got these in a bag. This one pin is a little bit bent. Okay. Got that straightened out with one hand. That's pretty neat. And that's the way it's supposed to work, continuous switching back and forth. Okay, what are we trying to do here? Basically what we want to do is make sure the contacts are working properly, and of course the secondaries, to make sure the switching coil is working properly. Basically the Arduino Uno is sending a +5 volt through the diode, through the resistor, current limiting resistor, and this is actually a PN2222, and basically when it gets a 5 volt conducts the transistor and keys up the relay. Basically it's supposed to be keying the relay, and the supply voltage is 7.7 to 9 volts. Doing the math and calculations at 7 volts through this resistor network, which is approximately 57 ohms total, it's going to be drawing approximately 0.8 watts and 0.122 amps at 7 volts. Basically when you divide, it's a resistor dividing network, and we actually got 1.22 volts at this point right here. And another interesting thing, which is recommended for the Arduino, is putting a 10K resistor in series. So if by chance the voltage goes too high at this point, it won't burn up your Arduino quite so easily. I think this can go all the way up, I don't remember exactly, probably about 12 volts or something like that, and the Arduino will still be safe, even though the Arduino is designed to operate at 5 volts. You can see I've got labeled here analog input 2 and analog input 3. The other thing about it is the little LEDs. You can see the LEDs switching back and forth. Basically it's nothing more than a current limiting resistor and a light emitting diode, and the choice of colors that you choose. Went through and tested about 50 relays, and I've got 2 bad relays out of 50. So cheap relays, but shoot, if I can make sure they work good, that's what I want. Okay, this is an example of the serial output of the Arduino microcontroller, and you can see this actually is sampling 25 times, testing the voltage 25 times per relay switch. Okay, one last and final test, the two relays that failed the 7-volt test. I put it up there to 9 volts, and they are indeed working at 9 volts. They just will not work at 7 volts. So if I have something I want to build that I can supply 9 or 10 volts to, these relays would work just fine. And we can try this one right here. And that's what we want it to do.